for what the Wonder Woman Chi, and it is a morning galaxy, a mid-morning cruise into the stars, into the galaxy. Welcome to a segment we call TeamZim.com, hot issues for parents and teenagers. And joining me in the studio, his name is Coach Tafazo. He's a life coach with over a decade of experience working with teenagers, preteens, and parents both in Zimbabwe and abroad. He leads the Edutainment Center and has a popular book, My Dating App. Good morning to you, Coach.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm lovely, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm excellent.
So, right, schools are closing this week.
Yes,
I think some even closed today, is it not?
Yes,
Today,
especially
tomorrow.
holidays.
Yes. So they're closing this week. Hey, oh my word. Yeah. So getting ready for the holiday tug of war is what we're talking about today.
Yes.
Mm.
And I just want to start by asking parents, are you ready for the holiday?
Is anybody ever ready though? Unless they're going somewhere on vacation. But I don't know.
Well, sometimes when I talk to parents, there's this sense of excitement that, oh, my kid has been gone for
But
too
how long?
long.
How long does that last? That's the
Well,
thing.
Maybe a day.
You see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're talking about getting ready for the tug of war, and I call it the tug of war. Have you ever played the game, like the tug
Yes,
of war?
I have.
You have. So basically, you're pulling in different in different directions, and the objective is to win. You want to sway the other team or the other person over to your side. So you are all pulling in different directions. So this is what I feel like normally happens between parents and their teenagers. And this is going to be happening soon as schools close. Even if your child is a day scholar, the fact that they were spending most of their time in school, it means that you're not spending too much time together. But now they're going to be home like every day, and then they're going to be in your face. You're going to be in each other's faces, and the potential for conflicts is very high. And then for some of you, even maybe your child was in boarding school and now they're back at home, and you're going to be talking to each other, you're going to be in each other's face. So it's something that you actually need to get ready for. So today I want to talk about some of the areas that cause conflicts. You know, I think the main thing that we need to understand is teenagers and parents look at the same thing from different perspectives. So they've got very divergent perspectives, and it's important for parent, you being the adult in the house, to try and understand what your teenager is thinking or their perspective, so that when you're dealing with them, you actually deal with them effectively. So whether you're dealing with a four or with a friend, it's important to at least have an understanding of what's going through their mind. That way you'll be able to deal with them better. So I'm just going to talk about the difference in perspectives in some of the key areas, so that you know how your teenager is thinking. And I'll also talk about, to an extent, how parents think, just in case there's a teenager out there and you're listening. And then you might also want to understand where your parents are coming from. So let's talk about holiday itself being the first thing. So when it comes to the holiday, a lot of teenagers are thinking in their mind, oh, that's my time to rest. There's been a lot of stress in school. There was routine. I was controlled. If I was in boarding school, so now I need to go home. I need to chill. I need to be on my phone, and I need to catch up on everything that I missed out on when I was in school. So I'm going to spend a lot of time on my Insta account. I'm going to spend a lot of time on TikTok. There are a lot of series that I couldn't afford to watch when I was in school, but now is the time. I need to go back home, and I need to catch up on everything, and I need to catch up on my sleep. Maybe we were made to wake up at 3 or at 4 a.m. every day. Now I want to be sleeping through and through. So this is the teenager's perspective. This is what they're thinking. And then at the other hand, as a parent, you're thinking, my child is now back home. I need time with them. They don't need to be spending time in their own bedrooms or on their phones. We need to bond. They need to catch up on their schoolwork. Maybe you checked out their report card. They're not looking so pleasing. So in your mind, you're already thinking, I need to send them back to school or to some extra lessons. So here's two of you. You're thinking in completely different directions. So pamchada kutanga kutaura, you can imagine the kind of hassle that is going to be. Then it's definitely going to be a tug of war. So it's important to try and understand, oh, this is what the teenager is thinking. They're expecting to come back home, to have their independence, to have their freedom. And then as a teenager, it's important to understand that your mom actually wants you also to catch up on maybe what you're missing out on school. And then mosangana pakati, you both need to compromise on certain things. As a parent, it's important to understand that it's needful for the child to have a bit of a break, to have a bit of freedom. So maybe the first 2 weeks you can relax, and then after that you go back to your school because this is your final year. You're going to be writing your O's, or you do the other way round. You just continue with school now, and then maybe in the middle you have time to have fun. You have time to also relax. So if you approach it that way and try to understand where they're coming from, and then the team also tries to understand where you're coming from, at the end of the day, it's not going to be a tug of war. Because I've seen parents and teens who will be both frustrated, and they're both convinced that they are the right ones. Their perspective is the correct one. So the mom is shouting from that side, and then the teenager may not be shouting loudly, but then deep inside them, they're answering back. I think we've all been at that place where you're talking to somebody who has authority over you, and you know that you can't like shout back at them, but deep inside your heart, so you're being told something, you're like, my time to. You're not saying it out loud, but it's in your heart.
Yes, but you're saying it, yeah.
Yeah, so whatever it is that you're being told actually isn't working. And then I'll talk about the next thing also, where parents and teens normally experience this tug of war type of a situation. So when it comes to social media, teens want to be on every trending social media platform, and they want to have the freedom to post whatever they want to post. They want to be liked. They want to trend also. And then as a parent, on the other hand, obviously you want them to be safe. You want them to be secure. You don't just want them to do anything like online. So it's important to then explain that to teenagers and have them understand your perspective, why you don't want them to be on certain social media platforms, why you think they're too young, in a way that makes sense to them, so that even in your absence, because sometimes you will think that you've convinced your teenager, yet you haven't convinced. They are afraid of you, so they just decided, I'm going to pretend like I've deleted my account, and they go on and create another one, a secret one, which is actually more dangerous. So it's important to have them understand, like in a language that they understand, that the reason why I don't want you to be on TikTok at this moment in time, or the reason why I don't want you to be on Instagram, or the reason why it's not cool to post personal stuff on your social media platforms, is that there are predators who can take advantage of you, who can manipulate you. So it's important to like even have those conversations, especially if your child has just gotten to the age where you've given them the phone, and now puberty has started. They are in Form 1 and they're trying to be like everyone else at school. The next thing is peer approval. So as a parent, you would like your child to respect authority. You'd like your child to have this mindset of wanting to make you proud as a parent, of wanting to make a teacher proud. But for most teenagers, in their minds, what actually matters is peer approval. If you are that kind of a person who is at school described as cool, then that's more important than being the teacher's boy or mommy's girl. So you'd rather be cool. If you are cool, maybe you play a certain sport, and I didn't do an MBA, you're gonna socialize, and you can get everyone to be on your side. You actually rank very highly on the social status ladder at school. So that's what teenagers are looking for. This is why then sometimes it's important for them. They're so concerned and worried about the label, because what happens is, if you've got a genuine label of a certain type of clothes, if you've got a certain brand, my noise is annotated when everybody talks about you, and that's what is important to them. That's what they're looking for. And I'm not saying as a parent go out of your way and then buy labels or anything for them, but I'm saying at least understand that. If you understand that, even if you're not going to buy them a label, then paunotenga uniform, you know kuti auchazoite mazi oversize, because you know. Yeah, because at least you appreciate the kind of social bullying that they are likely going to be subjected to, because they have gone to school with that kind of dressing. There are certain nicknames, and I think I've said this before, that will stick with a child till lapedza kunyora. In Form 1, they're given a name because of maybe the way they are dressed, or the way their blazer looks, or the way their skirt looks, and that nickname sticks with them. And that nickname can actually have an impact on their self-esteem, on their confidence. There are certain things or certain clubs that they may end up thinking like, I cannot join this because I dress a certain type of way, and that can even impact also on their overall academics. because if you don't feel confident in yourself, that just messes up with a lot of things in your mind. And then the other thing, parents love to compare, and normally when they do this, they're doing it with very good intentions. They actually want to inspire a child to do better. So sometimes you would hear that, oh, if it was your brother would have done this, would have finished this, or your brother was really great at math, you would always bring A stars and all of that. So when you're doing that to a teen, it normally does the opposite.
It crushes their spirit.
Yeah, it crushes their spirit. Because normally, if we to be honest, we do that comparison in a negative way. Rarely do we say, hey, you're so better. I mean, they're all these kids. They're not as good as you are. Rarely do we do that. The comparison only comes when it's so negative things. So teenagers do not want to be compared. They want to be treated as individuals. And I always give this example just to try and help parents to understand sometimes the kind of feeling that teenagers get when you compare them. Think about it this way. When your teenager is just talking about how other parents are so well organized, one of their fees on time and all of that, they may just be saying it, but that may actually get to you and rub you the wrong way. So in the same way, teenagers also like feel like that. So sometimes there's this tug of war, what are we talking about, and you're pulling the other side, and it's because of these little misunderstandings. And then the other thing, a lot of teenagers think that as parents you know nothing about teenage. This is what they think, which is not true. I mean, everyone has been a teenager. As a parent, you're actually an ex-teen, and if you were to be honest with your teen and tell them some of your stories, your teen could actually realize you're actually far ahead in certain things. Not like seriously. There are certain, you know, there are things that my dad tell me about his high school days, and I can't even imagine I could do that. For example, he interestingly, he brags about the fact that he started drinking when he was in Form 2, and
he brags about it.
He brags about.
Oh wow!
Which is what a lot of parents do actually. Like everything that happened to you during your teenage, normally you frame it like in a positive light, such that it appears as if you had like a perfect teenagehood experience. So anyway, I was saying that teens think that parents know nothing about teenage, and then on the other hand, parents also want to believe that they know everything about 21st century teenage. Yes. You know, there are aspects that are the same, but there are definitely certain aspects that are different, because now this is the 21st century, and each generation has its own kind of unique challenges. So there are certain things about today's teen that you do not understand, and if you would just pay attention, you know, this is how sometimes we talk about cyberbullying, and you may explain that to your parent as a teenager, and they will not get it. For them to imagine or something on internet that could so crush you, it's difficult, because during their time that wasn't a thing at all. But now, because social media is where we live, is where everything else happens, it's something that actually can impact a teenager. And for you as a parent to understand that, you actually have to listen, because it wasn't there during your time. So if you would listen to each other, there's a lot that you could actually achieve, because now you're all pulling in the same direction. You're no longer pulling against each other and trying to see who wins. And then moving on, for most teenagers, especially when it comes to studying, they want to be left alone. They want to do it their way. If they want to study with their headphones on, that's it. They don't want you to bother them. Sometimes they want to be on their laptop. They want to study on their own time. They don't want to be told when to study. And then all the other parents, on the other hand, parents also want teenagers to study their own way. Kana iwo vai nonoka kurara vakaisa makumbo mumvura. They expect their teenager to do that. So, you know, panema arguments are. And what's important is to actually sit down and agree on the objectives. What is the target? If the child manages to pull that target, even though it's wearing in a way that you do not approve of, then, fair enough, let them do it, because what you need at the end of the day is the results hakuzi kuti wakaona sei ma-A-stars iwayo no kana akangoya ari ma-A-stars they're fine. But if your teen does their own way and fails, then now as a parent you've got a right to come through and say, hey, your methods don't work. Inini, I did it this way and I got this results, so let's do it my way. So at least that way there's an understanding between the two of you. Because you know, I feel like you need to pick your battles as a parent. You know, not every unwashed dish is a hill that you then need to die on. Some of these things you just leave them. You agree on some non-negotiables, and then on certain things you can be flexible. Otherwise, you know, every time, every minute. Chana kuti mwana akagerwa kati yausiri kuda, ari kutamba neshamwari dzausiri kuda, aswera asipo pamba, ari kuona movie yausinga approve. So imagine kuti how many times are you going to be shouting like in a day, like so many times. So there are certain non-negotiables that you would say, okay, we sit down, this and this and that, that's a no-go area, we do not do. But then on certain issues, then you can be flexible. That way, you become happier. You and the teen as well. I'm just realizing that our time is almost up. Let me take this opportunity to give my contacts. So my WhatsApp number is 0773 606 728. 0773 606 728. If you're a parent of a teenager or you're a teenager and you'd like us to have a chat to discuss issues to do with teenagers, feel free to just send in your name and then we'll chat on that number.
Coach Tafaza, thank you so much, and I do hope that the parents took some notes there as the holidays are approaching, and yeah, so it'll be a long month.
Very long.
So his name is Coach Tafaza. You can catch him again next week, same time, right here on the Morning Galaxy, as we talk about issues, hot issues for